Breaking news coming to you live from the heart of Manhattan, the Rockefeller Center. Joined, as usual, with Nastassia the Hammer Lopez in Connecticut, where she is recovering from some sort of internal poisoning. How you doing, Stas?
I'm okay.
Yeah. Sucks to be sick. Really sucks to be sick.
Yeah.
We got Joe Hazen in the booth. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Great to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you as well. We got Quinn holding the fort down in Vancouver Island. How you doing, Quinn?
I'm good.
Good. Jackie Molecules, where are you right now?
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. And behind me in the studio, we got our intrepid Chef John from Temperance. How you doing?
Doing great, thanks.
Yeah? Everything good? All right.
Yeah.
And following our normal new route, I'm going to introduce our special guests so that they can be part of our pre-show or beginning show banter. I have, we've never actually met before, Wylie Dufresne in the studio, Chef Wylie Dufresne. We've never met, right? This is the first time
We've never met here before.
Yeah,
in
so
this very tiny room.
Yeah, so
we've met in other tiny rooms.
Many other tiny rooms. The tiniest room I think that we ever met was like your old office at WD-50,
which is slightly smaller than this room, but not much.
Well, here's the thing. So for those of you who don't know, Wylie Dufresne, my brother-in-law, and for a long time. In fact, that's how we know each other, is because we shared a mutual interest in the Carpenter Sisters. Yeah.
That sounds weird when you say it like that.
Yeah, but fact.
But yeah.
Yeah. And so anyways, so you might know he started, you started at Il Forno in
Al Forno
in Rhode Island, right?
Well, professionally, that might be accurate. I've been cooking since I was 11.
Yeah. But I mean, like, for jobs.
I mean, I had several jobs like summer jobs in restaurants, like between my college years. But my first one was, yes, the summer before my senior year of college. I worked at Al Forno's, correct.
Right. And then you went to, where I used to work and where Miley. By the way, when I said I never had you on before, people were like, "What about Miley?" And I'm like, "So you're married to Miley, who is the culinary journalism juggernaut to beat all culinary. We should have her on the show."
You should. Yeah, I mean, I could leave and she could maybe come over now.
Hey, she is pretty close, actually.
Well, she's in Oklahoma.
Oh, so. Yeah, chilling with the Pioneer Lady.
Currently, we're en route to Oklahoma.
Is she the Pioneer Lady or the Pioneer Woman?
I believe she goes by Pioneer Woman.
Pioneer Woman.
Yeah, but
she has a big old ranch, right?
I mean, again, that's why you should have Miley on to discuss those matters. That's not.
So anyway, then whatever. You went to the French Culinary Institute. Then your first big. I'm just doing the quick thing. Maybe we'll do banter first, and then we do quick. You want to do banter first? You have anything good? You cook anything good this week?
Have I cooked anything good this week? Not really. I mean, it's early in the week, so
the last 7 days.
My week started at your house, having a sort of Silence of the Lambs turkey experience, which was enjoyable.
Yeah.
I like that. That was good.
I literally put the lotion on the skin.
You certainly did.
And so what I did, people, was I made my mom's stuffing recipe because I'm supposed to go on. And you were on Dave Chang's recipe club.
I was indeed. Not that long ago. It was great. Good fun.
Yeah.
Good fun.
And so I'm doing something with them. And I'm on their Thanksgiving episode. So I made my mom's stuffing. But my gist of how the recipe club's supposed to work is that you're supposed to do something that is maybe that you haven't done before, right?
Correct.
So, since I've had this stuffing every year of my life and have made it for at least, or been a participant in making it for at least 42 years, right? Or at least since I was 10 or before, right? I was like, well, I got to do something different. So I ripped the skin off a turkey, just like Buffalo Bill, and then I meat glued it around the stuffing and just made like a just skin and stuffing, just skin and stuffing.
I mean, the wings were added on for some authentic, for a little visual appeal. It was quite delicious.
Oh,
it was quite delicious.
Yeah. Well, I do love my mom's stuffing recipe.
This week I haven't prepared much. I mean, again, I started Sunday night at your house. Last night we dined al fresco as a family. And I'll be cooking later this week. Pizza's on the docket. I make pizza every week.
Yeah.
Probably do the girls my wife, your sister-in-law, will be out of town most of the week, so I'll be doing a lot of cooking. The girls we do a little mango chicken. We found this delicious Indian mango chicken from a place not far from us up in Curry Hill, and I've reverse engineered it pretty well. So we'll do that. The girls like that. It's fun. I like cooking at home a lot, as do you. I know you do too. But so
also just like, I don't know, I'm just used to it anyway.
Yeah, like I said, I make pizza every week because that's an important part of what's coming, and so.
Yeah, how much you want to talk about that?
I mean, we can talk about most of it. Yeah, sure.
All right, what about you guys, John? What do you got? Anything good this week? I'm assuming, Stas, that you don't have that much good this week because you don't feel well, that you haven't been cooking a lot.
I just got this like 2 days ago, but no, nothing good.
Yeah. All right, what about you, John?
No, nothing really. I guess I don't know. I've been getting good at making the carbonara at the restaurant, but it's satisfying. But yeah.
So, what kind of carbonara learning curve did you go through?
I mean, I've always made it for myself and for family meal and things like that, but this was, I don't know. I've just been getting better at it. I found like the right ratio of cooked pasta to egg yolks to cheese.
It was incredible.
Thank you, Anastasia.
But if any of you have been to the restaurant maybe 3 weeks ago and had the carbonara, go again. Have the carbonara again.
Much better.
What's the pork product of choice in your carbonara?
Guanciale. Yeah.
Fair.
Trying to keep
but who's guanciale? That Iowa one?
La Quercia. I think I'm going to try and get the Salumeria Bielese.
You're a La Quercia man, huh?
It's just because that's what Murray's has.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
It's too dry to me, I think, the La Quercia.
Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't had it. Look,
it's nice
no
and
offense. I
crispy
love anyone trying to do anything good. I'm not trying to hurt anyone, but I haven't had their guanciale for years and years and years. But I kind of like the wetter rolled up guanciale. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm a huge guanciale fan, though.
100%.
You know why?
It's delicious.
That is correct. That is the correct answer of why to be a fan of anything. Yeah.
Well, Dave, you know where you could try it, right? It's at my restaurant if you finally came by.
Oh, yeah.
That's a tough one, John. That's a tough one.
Okay, you know what? With friends like these. By the way, today is Election Day, so if you're listening to us live, that means that you're on the Patreon. If you're not listening to us live and you want to, John, what should they do?
Patreon.com/cooking issues. We got 3 different levels of membership, all with great different perks. At the base level, you always get to be part of the Discord, which I always forget to mention. It's a great talking space for members from the Cooking Issues community. You can ask a lot of different questions and, I don't know, get recipe feedback and things like that. It's great. And then also great guests on, for which we get discounts for listeners from Kitchen Arts and Letters, and just a whole bunch of other things. So you should join. It's very affordable.
Plus, also, you can call in your questions live to 917-410-1507. That's 917-410-1507.
I'm dialing right now.
Oh my God! Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. It's on a loop. Anyway. So, hey Quinn, what do you got going on? Anything good?
I did that Cantonese ketchup spaghetti from Chinese Cooking Demystified. It's pretty good.
Compared to any other thing you could do, how was it?
I would do it again.
Okay.
I'll say that.
All right. Yeah. I don't know. Ketchup, I don't know. Why don't you describe quickly the ingredient base that goes into it, huh?
Well, it's onions fried in copious fat.
Okay.
The recipe calls for lard. I had to substitute ghee because that's all I had. And then you cook out the ketchup. And then you do add
when you say cook out, what do you mean cook out? You mean cook it until
you fry the ketchup?
Until what? In other words, like the old school recipes say, the fat pops out of it where it demulsifies, almost turning it back to paste.
I don't know if we went that far, but there's a slight color change at least. And then there's other tomato product added. Again, the recipe called for a little bit of fresh. I just did half a can. And then you simmer it with crushed garlic, bay leaf, Shaoxing wine, a little soy sauce. It's good.
Bay, huh? Bay. I went to Jean-Georges' The Tin Building a little while ago to buy, which you guys should go to. I bought his fancy bay leaf, much better than the bay leaf that I was buying from my supermarket.
Dried or fresh?
Dry.
Dried bay leaf.
But what? La Boîte d'épices.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it was, La Boîte makes good stuff. The spice box.
Yeah.
Speaking of spice box, have you guys heard of spice bags, Irish spice bags?
No.
It wouldn't be your thing, Wylie. John, you never heard of the Irish spice bag?
No.
Oh my God, Quinn, you heard of the Irish spice bag? Jack or Stas?
No.
Joe?
No.
So apparently it's.
I've been called an Irish spice bag.
There you go. Well, but you're more of a French Canadian spice bag. But so apparently it started at like Chinese takeouts in Dublin in the like 2010s, right around that area, and it's a mixture of like French fries, fried peppers, pieces of fried chicken, and then like curry powder
Oh, yeah.
and sauce. And I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
sounds good.
Irish spice, and I like the name because it sounds real dirty.
No dairy product, no cheese of any kind or anything like that.
I know, but curds would be great on that.
Yeah, I mean that would be a very interesting riff on poutine. You know, that would be a
Chuck some curds into that.
regional specialty of Irindia.
You gotta. Well, anyway, I want it. I don't know if there's a legitimate spice bag here in New York, and I'm now kicking myself because it existed the last time I was in Dublin. Because I was in Dublin only like maybe 4 years ago or 5 years ago, so it existed, and I was too stupid to have it. I was not in the know.
I mean, that seems like a strong assessment of you, but
Not in retrospect. I could have had a spice bag, the legitimate spice bag, and it's spreading slowly. I think it's maybe spreading through Irish pubs. I think there are some in New York, but I don't know who's got like a good one. I don't want like. Although, how could that combination be? Could be bad if you use bad chicken and bad French fries.
and it's a curry blend. It's just like a dry spice,
I think they add a dry spice, and I think they also add they serve it with a sauce,
like a wet dipping sauce.
I believe so. Never had it happen, but can you imagine just getting like ripping open like one of those the grease paper, ripping it open and having that be in your spice sack? Right. I want that real bad.
Done well, it sounds delicious.
Oh yeah. Oh hell yeah.
You think they're in the basket at the same time, the fries and the chicken? Same.
I mean, that's how I would do it.
Same basket.
I mean, unless you need to segregate your oils, you know what I mean? Anyway,
That's racist.
Yeah.
and Monsieur Molecules. So, what do you have going on in what do you have going on in Mexico?
Oh man, I was all over Mexico. By the way, I did hear the episode last week. I actually indeed did not have service, but appreciated you poking fun at me. A ton of delicious food. I was in Mexico City, Oaxaca, Morelos, some towns outside of Oaxaca. But at the end of my trip, on the very last day, I happened to go to this I guess they call it like a psychedelic music festival called Hypnosis. And one of the headliners was Primus.
Ooh.
Of all bands. And get this, a few things. So first of all, this crowd is full of like hip young Mexicans. They all know every song, singing every lyric.
Of Primus?
Like Tommy the Cat. Yes. Yeah. I was beside myself. I did not understand how this was possible.
Were they mainly doing Fizzle Fry, Sailing the Seas of Cheese, or were they more Winona's Big Brown Beaver era? What were they playing?
They did Winona's Big Brown Beaver, Fizzle Fry, Jerry Was a Race Car Driver, My Name is Mud, Tommy the Cat.
Oh, yeah.
So they also played the entire Farewell to Kings Rush album as a cover, right? So this is, but here's the fun part. A guy jumps on the stage and tries to steal Les Claypool's bass from him in the middle of the song.
Did he get the crap kicked out of him?
Oh yeah, he sure did. Yeah.
But, oh my God. It
was just wild. I just know we talked about Primus on the show a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was a very weird coincidence.
Yeah. Like every month or two, I think about the concert I saw them play in New Haven with Fishbone, where he just stopped the song to defy the laws of tradition, which, if you don't know that song, it's like, anyway, it's a song. So he stops right in the middle of it, just stops and goes, I hope none of you are doing hallucinogenic drugs. They're illegal. And they're bad for you. Yep. And crazy. I was like, man, because he was so high on hallucinogenic drugs at that moment. It was awesome. Anyway, that was either right after Sailing the Seas of Cheese came out, or I think it was the tour for Sailing the Seas of Cheese. It was that concert, which was nuts. Good old days. Good old days.
Yeah. So, and then lastly, I will I have been promising that I'd update the map with all my Mexico City recommendations. I will actually do that today.
All right.
Patreons. So,
All
a
right.
lot of new spots that I found.
Sounds good. Primus. All right. So, you want some questions first, and then we'll go back into the whole the history of the Wylie, or do you want to do more
Talking to
history?
me? Sure, as you wish. Sure, I'm happy for questions.
Questions? All right.
Sure.
So we got questions for you. Right?
Great.
All right. Oh, by the way, speaking of people who are interested in dough-based products, next week we have Craig from Omo Kitchen coming on.
Yep.
So any of you that have bagel-related questions, Nouveau bagel-related questions. Oh, by the way, Jack, did you see that they're doing a new metal tour?
Oh my God, I sure did.
Oh my God, so many bands. Like so much Korn, so much Incubus. Like, but then they're also including people like Skinny Puppy and freaking Mr. Bungle. So I'm like, on what,
Yeah.
like where, like, okay, Mr. Bungle, I kind of get it, but like, how is Skinny Puppy the similar, I don't know, is like Slipknot playing that thing? I don't know. All I'm saying is,
Probably. It's an insane lineup. It looks like a joke. When I saw it first, I was like, this has to be just a joke, like a meme. But it is real.
you're like, I verified it. It's actually happening. And then I went back and listened.
I really did have to go look.
Yeah. I mean, like, I like Skinny Puppy, right? But like, a lot of this, because I don't consider that new metal, but a lot of that new metal.
They're delicious.
They are, yeah. It didn't really, when you got just the right level of tenderness, but long cook. But by the way, Wylie, congratulations on you and I joining the International Sous Vide Hall of Fame together.
Yes. Congratulations to us all.
By the way, for those of you that don't know, Wylie is the one, I mean, I've said this on the air a million times. Wylie is the one who kind of got me into, again, he was macking on my wife's sister. And so the only way he could do that was by getting me to get him immersion circulators off of eBay. And that's how we became friends.
I mean, that's probably a modified version of the story, but
It's the one that I'm sticking with, though.
okay.
Yeah.
There's some truth to it.
Wylie was the first person I know of other than Thomas Keller and maybe Charlie Trotter to have immersion circulators in the U.S. because no one had them here and no one could afford them, right? So Wylie had a $250,000 was what the Bonnet costs?
I mean, I don't know that
It was a lot.
There's a lot of good that will come of discussing that.
Well, I don't know. Not the cost, but like it's expensive and huge and great.
Yeah, 11 feet by 8 feet.
Right? Except for the
It's like a
fact
big pool table.
that they could not replace the flat top pieces properly, and I had to go and grind them down.
Again, I don't think we're here to badmouth Bonnet.
But I'm saying this is like WD-50 was a kit like a cook's paradise, right? It had a huge, awesome, amazing, everybody loved kitchen and a really nice downstairs. So like, you know how when you go downstairs at a lot of restaurants, it really sucks?
It was nice downstairs.
It was really nice downstairs.
It
Like
was.
the pastry room was air conditioned.
Correct.
So that like, you know, that wouldn't mess up like the ice creams and the bases and the whatever they
People's
were doing.
hair. We don't want to mess up people's hair. That was
Well,
mostly what
Sam's hair when you opened was a thing of beauty. Sam Mason's hair was, you know.
it still is.
Yeah. But I mean, like, you know, I could see installing air conditioning just to keep the coif perfect.
Correct.
Yeah. And man, the ice cream he was putting out of that place. All the
Yes.
stuff, all the stuff that pastry folk. I mean, you had kind of a really stupid list of pastry people come out of WD-50.
They were not stupid people.
No. But like a dumb, like crazily successful,
Super talented.
super talented.
Yeah,
group of
no, it
people.
was it's always made me feel good, you know, the number of people that have gone through there and gone off to do great things, but oddly the most notable have been the pastry department, you know, the three pastry chefs, as well as, I mean, you know, she wasn't she was just a cook, a pastry cook, but Christina Tosi, without question, is probably of all the people that worked in the pastry department at WD-50, the most famous.
Yeah,
But-
and what has she done with her life? Just kidding, messing with you. Yeah, Tosi, who's basically ruling the world. Sanchez, who's like ruling Europe.
Rocio,
Yeah.
who's done very well. Rocio Sanchez and Malcolm Livingston, who just released a pretty interesting dessert at every Sweetgreen. There's a Sweetgreen here. You should go try it. It's available right now. Brand new dessert, first time ever at Sweetgreen.
And Stupak.
Alex Stupak, also, who's done relatively well for himself.
You think?
I believe.
Yeah.
And
Sam
Sam
Mason.
Mason, also all extremely good people, but all who've gone on to do great things.
Well, the other thing about all of those people is they also all did their own they did in other words, they didn't come and just do exactly what the person who was their predecessor did. They all had their own spins on things, which I thought was really kind of fun. They all did their own new kind of things and techniques. It was a kitchen where like you kind of demanded that people think and do kind of innovation work. Like you didn't really enjoy people just kind of like riding on it. You know what I mean?
Well, we really encouraged people to be part of our thought process, and I think in that had the effect of giving those people confidence to eventually have their own thought process. And so I think they're all great examples of people who came and added to our body of work, but hopefully took something about our process and allowed them to help identify who they were and define who they were and continue to be. I mean, we're all obviously in a state of evolution, but they're all doing really great stuff.
Yeah, and your bar program was always like one of the most interesting bar programs at the time. Yeah, I always used to say to whichever the magazines, because people still printed magazines back then, would listen. I mean, they still print them. That's Miley's business. I'm not bad mouthing the magazine business, but I used to say that it was very hard for restaurant bars to get the kind of play they deserve. But you had so many good people at WD. You had Tona. Remember Tona, who's now he did research and bar and cook, and he plays trumpet, and he was a nanny, and he's a capoeira expert.
I mean, we had a lot of people. We started with Eben Freeman. Eben was our original Juice. We had some
Kevin
unknowns.
Denton.
We had some very well knowns. And we had a lot of good people that went through the bar program there. I mean, again, I think a great restaurant has got something to offer, sort of, in all rungs of the ladder. So we wanted to have not just good food, not just good service. We wanted to have food and beverage, but within the food and beverage, we wanted to have, we had an amazing, sherry collection. We had amazing rums that nobody knew about. We had all sorts of we had a lot of different beverages, that we felt just added to the layered experience that was WD-50. If, when you decide to come and however you wanted to engage, whether it was simply just dinner or sort of go on this journey, there were a number of different ways that you could go on the journey. And between myself and my father and the rest of the people, we just believed that the more layers we could put, the richer the experience would be. And so we tried to have all that stuff. And so that's, that was the fun of it.
Except salad.
Well, because I don't believe that salad is part of the layered experience.
Yeah, but, did you know that, John, that Wylie is you don't hate salad, you just didn't want to serve it.
Correct.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I'd like to share a little story about WD-50, if I may.
Sure.
So, Wylie, when I first started cooking back in 2008, you came to the restaurant I was working at, Resto, because Dan Ross Lutweiler had been one of your interns at one point, and I made you a grilled cheese. Like a fancy grilled cheese, because that's what we were doing there, but didn't know who you were. And then a couple weeks later, Dan made a big deal out of it, so I ended up getting a reservation at WD-50, and I showed up there, and I can't remember who the server was, but we started talking to him, and he, and I casually mentioned, that I'd made you grilled cheese, not thinking anything of it, and that's why I was there, and just for the fun of it. But he went and told you, and then the level of hospitality that you showed us was absolutely incredible. You sent out 5 free appetizers, 3 free entrees, and then you gave us a personal tour of the kitchen afterwards, and that just solidified me wanting to be in hospitality. Like that experience that you gave me without even having ever met me was just so kind and generous, and it was, that's why I'm back to chefing now. So thank you.
Well, I have the invoice. I'm actually here to collect.
Yeah, perfect.
On those 9 free things that you were issuing.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
No, thank you.
It's a lot. It was a good time.
Yeah.
Well, WD was always extremely generous to cooks. You always have loved cooks.
Yeah, I mean, sure, absolutely. Yes, 100%. I mean, we tried to extend ourselves to any and all customers, but we did like to give special consideration to kitchen, to cooks, kitchen workers that would come and, understandably not necessarily have the ability to afford to eat there, to have the full experience. I mean, right. Yes, we had a la carte, but I think really WD-50 at the height of its powers was a long, slow, fun tasting menu where you could do a lot of different things and have a lot of different flavors and taste experiences. And so we were always trying to make sure that when cooks came by that we could give them the opportunity to maybe try something beyond what maybe they could afford, because back in those days, I mean, still to this day, it's not the most lucrative position in the restaurant.
Right. And I'm saying extending this hospitality to like line cooks, like
anybody,
prep people.
Absolutely. It was not. It was we were not discriminating. And I mean, I hope that we made anybody feel good. We're restaurant employees or not, but we did always. We always had a thing for single diners, like that we had a policy that if someone's dining alone, to really go over the above and beyond for them, because, it just seemed like a fun opportunity to take someone who's dining alone and really give them an even richer thing. Not to imply that dining alone is somehow sad or something like that, because dining alone can be great.
Right.
Going to the movies alone, have singular experiences can be great. But we tried to really, I think that people that get involved in restaurants are. It's so much fun to dole out that hospitality. It's so satisfying to be able to say, hey, look, we do this and we want to give you more of what we do. And I'm not particularly interested in whether or not you can afford it or want to pay for it. We're excited about this and we want to bestow it upon you. And so I think that people that are involved in restaurants and hospitality tend to be very generous in nature. And so it's just really fun. I mean, it's really fun.
I think it would be really hard nowadays to do something like WD-50. You know what I mean? First of all, like just the mentality behind it, I think it would be hard to get. I don't think you could do it again. Not you, one. You know what I mean? Like that kitchen, like the level of. So you like, for those that never got to go there, it was bare wood, right? Not tablecloth, but the place settings were put out just so. So it's like a very specific mix of not overly not stodgy, but also like controlled. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think you see a lot of those roots in modern 2- and 3-star Michelin experiences, mostly in Europe. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that there's necessarily tablecloths on the table at Noma, to be honest with you. I think it's more about the beautiful wood. The same way, I mean, our tables were made from the wood reclaimed from the floor when we renovated the building. And that's as equally, I think, a part of our story as a place like Noma harvesting wood from some local forest or some storied this or that. But I think I think restaurants like that are in some ways ultimately more of a European, like supported by European or foreign plate. Like America's not. There were never. I mean, when Alinea is still a practitioner, and there are maybe a small handful of other places thinking, cooking, giving you an experience in that sort of way. Although I think the like you said, the dining room, a lot of the service and stuff at WD is not like Alinea at all. It's much more informal, much more casual. But I think you're right. I think it would be hard to do that. I think it had a time and a place, and
especially the mental room that kitchen allowed. I don't think it'd be hard to get that built again. You know what I mean? Like
it's a lot. There's a lot of pressure too to constantly innovate. I mean, it was a different time. It was a different time in kitchens. There was almost this kind of crazy space race around the world where it was like, okay, we're going to be at Madrid Fusion this year, or we're going to be at Starships this year. What are we going to do? What are we going to show? It was, there was a lot of technique. It was a lot of technique driven. I mean, I think some people, the critics, used that as an opportunity to say it wasn't good because it wasn't about flavor or deliciousness. It was just about this, how can I make something crazy? And I disagree with that. But there was almost this sort of maniacal space race to come up with this new wild and crazy technique, of which you played, many a vital role in whether it was making, coffee and milk drops.
Yeah. Keeping the circulators running. But it was a wonderful time. It was a wonderful time. But I think that probably that time has passed. I think that there's still room for a lot of the belief systems that I have about cooking and approaches to cooking. And, we're applying a lot of that thought process to what's involved in a pizza. But I think if someone said, here's $5 million, go open another WD-50, I think I might actually say, I thank you, but no, let's open 15 pizzerias instead. Yeah. Well, that's a lot of work. And plus, you already opened a WD-50.
Yeah, and like, you know, I feel good. I feel good. We set out to achieve a lot of things, and I think for the most part, we achieved every goal, you know, we that we set out, and so the circle was complete. I don't, you know, Alder was an incomplete thought. It didn't get to go all the way through, and that's too bad. And Dues certainly didn't come close, and that's also unfortunate. But I feel good about, you know, WD-50's life cycle.
WD-50 stayed open until they knocked the building down.
Yeah, and to this day, there's still nothing in the retail space. So I feel bad. I feel bad for the sort of myopic vision that the landlords at the time had, because we could have put it back. Anyway, that's a story for another day.
Yeah, one of the many times I ate at WD-50, I remember I was having a delicious tasting meal. But he, like, Wylie would always keep some of his pork belly around because he knew that I loved his pork belly. Like, Wylie's pork belly is real good. You want to go through the procedure?
It was just a long, slow, you know, it was brined for a while, and then it was cooked for even longer.
But you pressed it real flat so you got good skin contact.
And then it was pressed after that. So it was, you know, it was like a 2 to 3 day process. But I mean, were it not for the pork belly, you and I may not know each other.
I mean, that pork belly was good. Like, I would just be like, just more pork, like just more pork belly.
Well, that's what you were known as. You were the guy that wanted the middle course pork belly.
Yeah.
That's, you know.
Well, I appreciated it.
Chef, the guy, middle course pork belly, wants a kitchen tour. Well, you go tell the guy if he wants a kitchen tour, I want a date with his sister.
Yeah, see? I wasn't lying.
And so, you know, long story short, I married the girl.
Yeah.
And Dave got the pork, so everybody wins.
I went one all the way around.
Yeah.
But I remember, so WD-50 had like big picture windows in the front and like the bar, and you kind of go in, and it was literally, I mean, I was living still in the garment district at the time, but I was about to move down to the neighborhood, or I just moved down to the neighborhood, and people are sitting there having this kind of amazing tasting experience, and kids would just come up, pull their pants down, and push their butt against the window. Remember that?
I mean, who doesn't like a little pressed ham? You know, who doesn't like a little pressed ham?
Different time in the Lower East Side. Different time in the Lower East Side. Biff Dit writes saying, question: what is your? This is for you, Wylie.
Okay.
He's trolling you. This is a troll question.
Oh, okay.
Prepare to be trolled.
Okay.
Okay. For those of you that don't know, Wylie had a donut concept called DU, which is short for Dufresne, Yeah. Coffee, donuts. And you also have a family history of donuts.
Donuts and coffee, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We lead with donuts.
Fair. But you have a family history of donuts.
Correct.
You want to talk about the family history of donuts briefly before I read this troll question?
My great-grandfather was a cake donut maker.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, and you enjoy them.
I very much enjoy them.
Yeah, all right.
You know why?
Because they're delicious? Yeah. Which is the correct answer for anything. Yeah.
I mean, that's delicious.
Yeah. Question. What is your best argument for why cake donuts should even be bothered with when there is the clearly superior option of making yeasted nuts?
Well, that person has a medical condition, I think, if their nuts are yeasted. And for that, I'm sorry. I wish them a speedy recovery. I believe that, you know, again, there's enough space in the world for everybody. But I think if you consider the idea of taking cake batter, which is really what a cake donut is, and trying to fry that in a perfect circle in under 3 minutes, when one normally would pour that into a pan and bake it in an oven in 30 to 45 minutes, that there's a real art to it. And I find like a warm sugared cake donut about 4 minutes after it's come out of the oven, when all the starches have actually retrograded and it's cooled, to be sort of ethereal. But that's not to say that this lovely person, couldn't enjoy a yeasted donut. But I think that a cake donut is better, personally.
Yeasted donuts are easier to make. I mean, okay, look, I don't want to be a jerk about it, but I mean, in other words, like, they're self-sealing, right? So like you make a yeasted dough, and it's easier to get to a certain level with, I'm not saying, look, to be great is hard with anything, but I'm saying just to a certain level, yeast is easier because they're self-skinning. So you throw them into the oil and they self-skin.
Well, just because it's easier doesn't make it better or worse.
Right, but I think you enjoy challenges. And even the way you just said it, making a cake donut is hard.
making a cake donut is hard. I would say, actually, bigger picture, frying in general is one of the hardest culinary forms, period, hard stop, to do properly. There are so many more people practicing bad, greasy. It's easy. We have a saying, it's easy to make greasy food. And it's really easy to make greasy food in a fryer. It's very easy. Properly fried food is not greasy. Unfortunately, most cake donuts are greasy and they're perceived as moist. People think that a grease-laden donut is moist. It's actually not. It's greasy. A proper cake donut should have a nice crust, a ring. To be honest, I think an old-fashioned is probably a donut at its highest, like the apex of art. But properly fried donuts are really hard to do. Properly fried anything is really hard to do. Okay. It's a lot easier to put a piece of fish or a piece of meat in a pan than it is to fry it.
Yeah, I mean, I think people should think more about frying. I think they should do it more.
It's really hard.
How do you like your Cajun fryer, by the way?
I do like that Cajun fryer. It's a lot of work to maintain a fryer that you don't use regularly. You know what I mean?
Like, trust me.
I mean, frying, it's safe to fry outside and stuff like that, so it's great, and I do like it. But it's, having a
lid works. The lid works to keep the oil good, or
yeah. I mean, having a fryer in the middle of the woods is not without its challenges. You know what I mean? I don't know.
It's in a clearing. To be fair, it's in a clearing.
Anyway,
but how do you deal with are you okay with the lack of thermostat? That's the thing, because like when I'm, for so long, I had a giant thermostatic fryer. I miss it dearly.
Well, it's in my garage if you want it.
I know, but I have no place to put it. Although, I think I figured out the problem. I think I could probably put it back in, but you know what? Who wouldn't like that very much?
The building.
Or my wife.
Yeah.
And the building. Yeah.
Your insurance company.
Yeah. Oh my God. Back in the old place when I had the 40-pound fryer. Oof.
Yeah, and you didn't have children to be concerned about?
I did. They knew not to get near the fryer. It's like, come on. It's like, don't stand behind the car when I'm backing out of the garage. Only for me, it was don't get near the fryer when it's frying. You know what I mean?
Moving on.
Anyway, I miss the fryer deeply. But you like the Cajun one for it's a good option for people to have an outdoor fryer.
Yes, it is a good option for outdoor. Absolutely. 100%. Okay.
And is that one stainless or painted?
It's painted.
Yeah.
It's painted.
You're a lover of the stainless. I'm sure if they'd offered you a stainless option.
It was a gift from my most excellent wife.
Yeah.
And it's good. I fried fish out there. I fried a lot of donuts out there. Yeah. It's good.
Chef style people, Wylie turned me on to the stainless steel wedding bands. Like, you turned me on to stainless steel wedding band because you're a lover of stainless steel.
I am. Very much
your
so.
favorite metal.
Well, what's not to like? What's not to like about stainless?
Yeah, I mean it's stainless and it's hard.
Yeah,
shiny.
Yeah. I was just having, we're building a pizzeria, and we just decided to clad the bar in stainless. And someone said, "Won't like drinks leave rings on it?" I said, "No, because it's stainless."
Stainless.
Yeah, but won't like the way bars oxidize in the metal. I said it will not. They said but I said it's stainless. It will not leave a mark.
It is without stain.
Yeah, we had in our house up in Connecticut. We had countertops put in that were stainless, and the contractor was like, "I've got them in. They're going to be shiny. It's going to look like chrome." I was like, "No, I want you to brush the whole thing." He's like, "But no, it'll look like it's been used. Like the second you walk away from polished stainless, it looks terrible. So brush the whole thing." He's like, I brush it. Looks great."
Yeah, well.
Stainless.
You know when you go to get like stainless stuff manufactured on the down the district in the street, they're like, "Is this residential or is this commercial?" And they always try to put a higher finish on the residential, but then it ends up looking like garbage anyway.
Yes, brushed. Just brush it.
So you mentioned the pizzeria. Do you want to say anything more about that? So you did your stretch pop up.
We did stretch pop up, yes.
Right, and then now you're. What do you want to say about what's going forward?
We're working diligently on bringing a stretch brick and mortar pizzeria to a neighborhood near you soon.
What kind of oven are you going to use?
We're going to use a deck oven, electric deck oven.
You do want to talk about the brand, or you don't have it picked out yet?
I think we're going to go with the Pizza Master. Yeah, we're pretty enthusiastic about that.
Nice. And how tall are those decks?
Well, we'll be using a 3-deck oven. The bottom of the upper deck, if that makes sense, with the door open, I think sits at 60 inches.
Right, but how deep is each? Like, are pizza?
What's the height of each deck?
Yeah, pizza decks are real short, right?
Yeah, they're. I think what is that? 8 inches? I think
it's pretty high though.
Yeah, I mean,
it's enough.
I
room.
have the specs
is it
in my phone. I don't
are
have
they
the specs in
big?
my
Is it
head.
what's
It's about 70 inches wide and 50 deep.
And what's going to be your standard diameter
Pizza?
Yeah.
Probably a 12-inch. I mean, I think that there's a lot to like. I mean, 12-inch pizza. There's a lot to like about a 12-inch pie. And we're doing a New York style dough, and I think that nobody really makes New York style pizza that small. You know, typically New York pizzas are 18 to 20s.
Right.
But I think that those pies don't deliver well, and I think that a New York style pizza in a smaller size will actually be a great pie for delivery. Will hold up to delivery. Won't arrive in a box all soupy and steamy and gross.
Soupy and steamy.
Yeah.
You gonna make a pizza soup?
I hadn't thought about making pizza soup, although I do have an idea for a French onion soup pizza.
That sounds great.
Ooh. So
that sounds great, but you
right?
don't want to do if going back to WD days, you'd be making a pizza consomme, and then you would serve breadsticks with a pizza consomme.
Something like Well, we tried hot dog consomme at WD. It was terrible. It was disgusting.
Do you know what the best hot dog consomme is? Go out to the Dirty Dog folks, pay them for a cup of their water.
That's what we did, and then we clarified it.
Yeah,
and it was gross.
I've tasted it. It tastes like hot dog.
It was gross. It was pretty gross.
I've tasted their water.
It didn't go on the menu.
The worst thing I've ever is this true? Worst. One of the worst liquors I've ever made was hot dog liquor.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good either.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Brady Vicker wants to know more on donuts. Brady Vicker wants to know more about how you approach developing your cake donuts. It seems like 99% of places use a mix. It's more like 100%, right?
I mean, he's right. Yeah. Anyway,
how hard is it to go your own way? You can go your own way. Go your own way.
You sure can.
Yeah.
How hard is it? I mean, again, what's your intent? Is your intent to open a donut shop, or is your intent to make delicious donuts at home? Because if you're going to make donuts at home, I think the bigger hurdle is what are you going to fry them in? How are you going to make sure you don't hurt yourself? Frying's hard. You need a lot of oil to fry donuts properly. You need a big pot with a relatively deep amount of oil so that you don't lose temperature. You know what I mean? You don't want that thermal drop because that equals absorption, that equals a greasy donut, that equals a fail in my mind. So
the thing that you have professionally is a huge thermal mass because you're dealing with like minimum 40, 50 pounds of oil. You know what I mean?
But commercial donut fryers are extremely shallow.
Yeah.
And the heating element and the donut are very close together, unlike French fry fryers, which are massive, like just sort of black holes of oil where they're supposed to be, the fries, the stuff's supposed to drop to the bottom, blah, blah, blah.
Right. You're not poisoning your oil the way, though, that you are with a French fry fryer. You don't need the cold zone.
You poison the oil with chocolate donuts. Chocolate donuts screw the oil up because the cocoa and all that. Anyway, to answer this person's question, how did I go about developing a cake donut? Well, there's not a lot of literature, unlike pizza, where there's 1,000 recipes online, a billion recipes online. There's nothing online to make a real cake donut because a cake donut is made from a batter. A yeast donut is made from a dough, and that's not up for debate. Cake, donut, cake, batter, cake donut. But most online recipes for cake donuts are rolled and punched because
they make them so stiff so that they don't blow out.
Correct. Because it's hard to deposit batter in a circle at 325 to 350 degrees and not cause your home to become a problem. So, to answer the question, what I did was I tried as best I could to find recipes, of which there are not many, and I just experiment. And the recipe that you got the day dues closed was somewhere close to version 68, something like that.
Do you remember when way back in the day when I called the Belshaw brothers and I asked them for an actual recipe and they're like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
And they went down to the basement and found some like million-year-old person that they just like threw like food scraps to keep alive, and they scraped up some.
Yeah. I mean, most places use a mix. I mean, I would say, and there are some good ones out there. There are definitely some good ones. A lot of them are not great, but you can tell a mix on a cake donut usually when you break it open in the color, because there's a lot of that yellow coloring to make it feel eggy. But again, I would say I would tell this. What was this person's name?
That was Brady Vicker.
Brady, I would say start with your favorite pancake batter and go from there, because pancake batter and cake donut batter is very similar.
But the thing about a mix, right, is that my impression, you tell me, my impression of mixes is that they deposit over a much wider range of temperature accurately than someone could accomplish without using like heavily stabilized fats and the right hydrocolloids and all that other stuff.
I mean, there was not any of that fancy hydrocolloid stuff in our ultimate mix. We had some things like corn starches and things like that in there because they helped with milk powder and things like that helped, which is not a hydrocolloid, I understand, that helped with the crisping and some of the staling, because we were wholesaling, and so we need to extend the shelf life. So some of those things that are in there, a lot of those additives are because donuts are made and held for a period of time. But when you're at home, you're making donuts and eating them. I would say take your favorite pancake recipe, sub out 20-30% AP for cake flour. That'll give your donut a little bit more tenderness. Throw a little bit of milk powder in there if you want. That'll help with keeping like a barrier on the oil. It'll also make it real crispy. But pancakes and pancake batter and cake donut batter are very similar.
So another thing you taught me is that the depositors. So if you ever buy a donut depositor, they're awesome, but
they're expensive though.
You can are they still expensive used? Because they used to be real cheap.
You
used.
Can't find them used.
No.
But you're talking $500-600, which for me
is
is
the same one I have.
The Belshaw. Yeah, you can get a brand new one tomorrow for $600.
I bought mine for like $50.
Well,
anyway,
I have it, so maybe I'll put it on eBay.
So if you are using that, what was surprising to me is like how you have to keep it full. Like it relies on a certain weight of batter above it to work properly.
It's gravity fed. Yeah. It's but you'd also could catch us if you have that one, you just swing it a few times and you can push the batter down. You drop 4 or 5, swing it around in your arm, drop 4 or 5. But have fun with it. Cake donuts are fun to make at home. Sugar, cinnamon, go for it.
But yeast donuts are easier to make at home.
It's a process. You gotta make that dough. You gotta let it rest. You gotta punch it. You gotta proof it. You gotta fry it. It's not easy. I don't want to make it sound like yeast donuts are a walk in the park. It's a process.
Yeah, but I mean, like
I could make you cake donuts in half an hour. I cannot make you yeast donuts in half an hour.
Okay.
I could probably get the yeast donut batter ready to go before the oil was up to temp.
Okay. I'm just saying, what's the easiest thing to fry? Beignets, obviously. They don't even have to make, you make like a yeast dough, cut it into squares and throw it in oil. It's never gonna...
It's gonna be greasy. It's gonna 100%...
Right, but it's gonna be...
You've never had a beignet that wasn't greasy.
But if you're not used to a cake donut batter, not only is it gonna be greasy, it's gonna literally go... Poof.
Make it tight. Just make it a little... I'm telling you, go buy some Bisquick.
Bisquick.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Works well.
I haven't had Bisquick. My mom had Bisquick in the 70s, and it was that box was there the entire time of my childhood, I think.
It's a good product. I can't say...
You know what I used to make? One of the first things I used to make, because, both of us grew up only children, right? I mean, like, my parents got divorced and remarried, and so, like, I started having brothers and sisters when I was, like, 16. But by that time, you're pretty much baked, right? In the 70s, they used to make these things called panshakes. Do you remember panshakes?
No.
So a panshake was pancake batter, so basically pancake mix, like Bisquick, basically, right? In a little milk carton, right?
Okay.
Right, and with a plastic sack on the inside. So what you would do is you would open the panshake carton, you would dump in the liquid, and then you'd close it and roll it over. So, and then shake the hell out of the bag. You didn't even have to use a fork or a spoon. And then that's how you would make pancakes. And that's how I started. That was one of the very first things that I was cooking.
I mean, you can buy, Bisquick sells that now. You can buy Bisquick that you just unscrew the cap, pour the liquid in, and shake it.
Yeah. It's good for kids to start.
I love pancakes. I made them this morning.
Yeah, I make only giant pancakes. I can't be bothered to make a lot of little pancakes.
I like silver dollars and normal size. They're fun.
Mine are the entire width of my Crempos crate makers. So how big is that?
That's big. That's one.
I make one pancake and then I slice it into. Think of it as like the pizza of pancakes.
I really like taking pancakes and putting them in the toaster, because you get a real. Where pancakes, the Achilles heel of a pancake is that it doesn't stay crispy for very long. But if you put them in the toaster briefly, it's exceptional because you get some crunch. You get the exterior crunch of a pancake, and then you get the steamy cake of the center. I think it's a underappreciated thing.
Steamy cake. All right. Justin Sherrill writes in, question, what do you think of the donut business now that you've been in and out of it? Not about the delicious product, but what it's like to serve a product with such a short lifespan, with chain competition, and mostly morning sales compared to pizza or fine dining.
Donut business is hard. That's what I would say. It's hard. It's obviously volume driven. Shelf life is an issue. Donut business is hard.
Yeah. Jermaine Dupre-Fixé writes, what's your go-to quick meal for home, to make it home?
My go-to quick meal, I mean, if it's 6:45 and I haven't started yet, I keep Trader Joe's steamed dumplings in the freezer, and again, throw in a pot of rice, make some quick pickles, salt, sugar, equal parts, cucumbers, and then I'll throw the Trader Joe's steamed dumplings. They're excellent. Put them in a pan, a little bit of oil, get them brown, throw in 4 ounces of water, put the lid on. Delicious. I like a Trader Joe's dumpling. They're very solid.
You brown first and then steam?
Yes, always.
Okay. All right. Matt from Mystic, what's your current pizza skin formula?
Sorry, no can do.
Yeah. Is that what you guys call it in the biz, though? You call them skins?
Well, no. To skin a pizza is that when you stretch a pizza,
Right.
it's called skinning. You shape it into a long flat circle. But
Right.
I don't think that we're quite. I'd be happy to share a recipe, not the current recipe.
Yeah, I see. Well, you want what hydration are you at right now? How about that?
I like 63. 63 is a good number. 63% hydration.
And
I
how
think,
long?
Well, the idea of, you mean how long does it ferment for?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of work still to be done between long-term cold fermentation. There's not a lot of science on that subject. And so it's not totally clear if you can't get the same results, flavor profiles from a single day RT bulk versus a long cold, like bald bulk. And there seems to be two schools of thought on that. I think, again, 63% hydration. But again, you got to have some fun with the flour, because flour is what is going to change everything in there. You know what I mean? It's water, it's flour, it's yeast, it's maybe diastatic malt, maybe not. It's sugar, maybe not. I don't think there's much more to it than that.
You say oil? Are you oiling yours or no?
Oil or not. Yeah, I have olive oil in our dough.
You like Captain Greasy's stuff, right? Nick Coleman, you like his stuff.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Brandon Bird writes, since Dave and Wylie are both philosophy majors, I wonder if they might comment on how, if at all, their study of philosophy influenced their approach to food and cooking. What do you think?
John Stuart Mill, greatest good for the greatest number of people.
Really? You're a utilitarian at heart?
Yeah, sure. The greatest good for the greatest number of people.
Since I went to college when I was 18, like a lot of people do, and was a boy, I read a lot of Nietzsche. So I don't really think it affected the way I live now. Like
all those like rich German guys that were angry and lived alone, they didn't, that was an unusual, I don't relate to them.
He ended up losing his mind and like pooping in his chest of drawers in his sister's attic towards the end of his life. So like it didn't end well for him. Mm-hmm. Doesn't end well for anyone.
He went out like Howard Hughes.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, but not as rich. Chef, why don't you like wood fire? Would you rather sell pizza in high volume or less volume? And what would determine the difference? Would you come? This is from Prudencia Restaurant. Would you come to our restaurant if we saved enough dough for you?
Which of those questions shall I address?
Just do them all. Do them all.
Why don't I like wood fire?
Well, presumably for pizza ovens.
I didn't say I don't like wood fire for pizza ovens. I said the type of pizza I make does not go into a wood-fired oven. Okay. I make, typically lower hydration doughs that are better suited to deck oven. I mean, I'm chasing a New York style pizza. New York style pizza doesn't go in a wood burning oven.
What do you think about the coal like Lombardi's?
I think that Lombardi's pizza is delicious, but that's not that is okay. That's New York style pizza. Then we're getting granular, and you're talking about New York style pizza, New York pizza history, cultural anthropology, blah blah blah. But the type of pizza I make doesn't really fare well in a coal oven. I have no problem with that as a concept. I think it's delicious. A lot of New Haven pizza is also coal-fired and delicious. What do I think about the pizza business? What was...
would you rather sell in high volume or low volume? And what would be the difference making you choose? Presumably meaning that you would use different kind of specs or different...
I mean, I'd like to have a pizza business that was successful, so there's got to be some sort of volume. You know what I mean? I think I'm better selling 100 pizzas than 3. So I'm not sure that I totally
unless the 3 are really big and really expensive.
Really expensive. And would I come to their place if they saved me some dough? Meaning like they typically run out by the time I'm there?
No, I mean, they want you to come make a pizza there.
Where is it?
I don't know. We'll look it up.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to come.
By the way,
airfare included.
I'm gonna bring gold leaf, and I want like flittering gold leaf on my pizza, or no love.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll mix it with bonito flakes. And put it on. You have a gilded.
I actually like that look. The bonito flake, the waving bonito flake.
I've been dying to put bonito flakes on a pizza. I think it would be super cool. I'm sure it's been done, but
I had it in where was I? It was Japan, I think. I had it, and it was. The pizza was not good, but the effect of the bonito flake,
super fun,
super on point.
Yeah.
Rachel Karen writes in, how can one thicken gravy at Thanksgiving using a hydrocolloid instead of flour for celiac guests, and where can it be purchased? And I'll add to this that I'm assuming that Rachel doesn't want the gravy to look transparent like a cornstarch thickened gravy. So look like a gravy, but use a different hydrocolloid.
I would say probably your friend is xanthan gum is your friend. It is the gateway hydrocolloid, as they say, and it's probably the best way to thicken that. I mean, are we using reduction? Again, this is...
you don't want to over-reduce it. So let's say you were going to take a standard, stock that, is maybe self-gelling, but not like a glass, right? So So a little bit of xanthan, but you never go over 2/10 on a gravy, right? Because you don't want it to look jiggly-diggly. You're not Spanish.
No, but I think that you could get the viscosity that you want in a gravy from xanthan gum.
But what would you do to add the opacity? What would you add that adds opacity to it? Because cornstarch doesn't have the right look. I'm assuming we want gravy to look like gravy. And gravy looks, and John and I, we've had this discussion. To me, gravy looks like...
What about some emulsified fat? I mean, that would add the opacity.
Yeah, it might come out as
Well, again, if you're making proper gravy, there is emulsified fat in the process. It's reducing gelatin, is emulsifying the oils that you used in the pan. I would say xanthan gum or a cornstarch. I disagree with you. I think cornstarch is a good. Escoffier was right. Cornstarch is the future.
He liked arrowroot though, didn't he?
I think he liked cornstarch too. No,
arrowroot's also good. High amylase though. If you use arrowroot, it's going to gel a lot harder when it cools, like a lot harder.
Correct.
Okay, we have 1 minute 28. Benjamin Dweck writes in, I've been fortunate enough to come across some good quality Turkish salep powder. Any tips on a reliable way to make salep dondurma? Can I adapt any old ice cream recipe? Other uses for beyond the traditional hot drink? Do you ever
no
make
experience with salep?
So, Benjamin, there's things that are marketed in Turkey as salep powder that aren't salep powder that are made for the drink, and then there's the actual orchid root that's made for the ice cream, and they're not the same. They don't act the same. When you're making salep ice cream, it must be heated, so you treat it like a hot, disperse it, and then hydrate it, cool the base down, and you have to physically beat the salep after it's frozen and keep it cold. So you can't just make the ice cream, and unless you have a very serious ice cream machine, it is hard to churn. Right?
Just do it with guar gum. You'll get close enough.
Well, you need guar plus I forget what my old mix was that really gets the Salepi snap. But go find it on the Cooking Issues. I have a bunch of recipes for it, and people also used to use konjac. Little Xanthan, what's the deal with non-aluminum baking powder? It was mentioned by Rose on the show that it could have a ruinous taste. Is that true? Should I switch to one of the non-aluminum brands? No, I think she was saying that non-aluminum has SAPP, which can have a bitter taste, like some of the double-acting that are aluminum-free. I think she didn't like the flavor of.
I love sap. That's the best baking powder for donuts.
Sap?
Cake donuts. Sap. Sodium acid pyrophosphate. Cake donuts friend.
All right, well, there you have it. Cooking issues. Thanks, Wylie.
Thank you.